Hey everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. My name is Soleil and I garden in a Zone 6A, and today is December 2nd and we are out in the garden because it's very peaceful looking, and we've gotten quite a bit of rain and a little bit of snow, but it's all melted now, and so I just thought it would be fun to walk around and show you what it looks like this time of year. Alright, let's take a look. You can see we've started losing quite a bit of leaves. Most of the deciduous foliage is gone now. But there's still a lot of things that are looking beautiful in the garden. Our kale is still looking good and it's growing. It definitely enjoyed getting the little bit of rain, and the drops of water on it are beautiful. They just sit atop it, kind of like a lady's mantle. If you have those, you know what I mean. It just glistens. And the Virginia along this walk is looking beautiful. I've really been enjoying having the new fence in. It gives a beautiful backdrop to the garden. And some of the things that I didn't, really be able to see and have stand out in the garden before, especially along the back fence line, really are doing well. Now some of the berries on our coral berry are starting to turn a little bit black from the moisture right now, but the birds will still come after those and eat some of those berries. The half moon garden, I think, still looks really beautiful. And one of the things that you can start to see now is the peeling bark on the Tian Shan 7 Sun tree. So you can see it starts to peel off and it renews itself. And it's beautiful. All of the hydrangea blooms have gone brown, but I think there's a beauty in that as well. Now some of the things that we're starting to see throughout the garden are more of the evergreens, including the hellebores. And so those are standing up really nicely. Those we had just transplanted this year into this area. And this area really did need a little bit of greenery for over the winter. The views are still really pretty. It's a bit of a gray day. It's cool but not too cold. And you can see these hellebores are looking beautiful as well. And the lungwort is really quite a hardy plant, so it's just starting to die back now. In warmer zones, it probably is more of an evergreen plant. Now this is one of our pieris. This is the Scarlet O'Hara, and this one will bloom white in the late winter, early spring. So it's got its buds on already, and it will hold on to those all throughout the winter. And this hellebore over here was the one where it started to bloom really, really early. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with that through the winter. We'll see. These little heucherellas are looking quite pretty. I might actually move them back a little bit in the springtime, just because now we have a little bit more room between them and the fence. And I had to come through and put this trellis out for this clematis because it didn't really have anything to grow up on once we took away the other fence, because that's what it was growing on before. Now some of the oak leaf hydrangeas back here are still holding on to their leaves, and they do hold on to their leaves a lot longer than many of the other things that are in the garden. This time of year they provide a bit of color still. And the boxwoods are starting to show. Now the grasses, they are not fluffy right now because they're kind of beat down by the rain, but they will lift back up as they dry out, and they will be very beautiful, and they provide a great deal of interest in the winter garden. We have some nice big buds that are starting to come on our rhododendrons back here in preparation for next year. So I hope these do really well. And these other two rhododendrons are pretty new also, so they're going to have a little bit more space now that the fence has been moved back to really grow. which is nice. They would have been a little bit crowded otherwise. Can you hear all of the little birds? So many different ones. I left these astilbes standing because I think they provide beautiful interest as well right now. They probably won't make it all the way through the winter, but we'll see. One area that continues to provide color is down here, and I think it's a beautiful view with the pieris and the heucheras. We have both the mahogany monster heucheras that are going over here along this side, as well as the mega caramel over here. And I think these heucheras just really look so beautiful with the pieris, because the pieris buds have really put on their color for the winter. I highly recommend pieris if you are, in a zone where it's hard to find evergreen foliage type plants. They are fantastic down to a zone 5. And with the color that they produce at a time when not much else is blooming, they do their job in the garden very well. I have pulled out the cannas from these 2 pots. I was going to maybe save some of them, but I just decided not to. They grow really, really fast, and they were incredibly pot bound. It took a lot of effort to get them out. I actually had to have my hubby come out and help me with that, because they had basically, their rhizomes had really, really stretched into the edges of the pots and were pushing on it. We still have some color along here because of the heucheras. And of course, the false mophead cypress provide that bright punch of color as well. And that chartreuse really pops in the wintertime. You can see I haven't come through and cut off my hydrangea blooms yet, but that will be happening soon. Probably this month sometime, because we'll be starting to get more snow and potentially icy rains, and I don't want the branches to snap off. But this one, this quick fire hydrangea, I will leave this one with its spent bloom heads on until I actually prune it in the end of winter, because it still looks really pretty and it's so open that it really doesn't affect it much. However, the mop heads on these Incrediballs have already started kind of weighting down the plants, so those will need to come off as well soon. I wish I could leave them, but I can't. They will just break their stems off. Our little pots over here look great still. I'm enjoying those. Made it through, 20-degree weather, so they have done a great job. And now this arborvitae topiary really stands out strongly because of the lack of additional color in the space. And the texture of the grasses in these pots is looking great too. Again, the kale is doing really well, even though it's been so cold. All right, well, let's take a pop out into the front garden and see what that's looking like these days. Along here, our boxwoods are doing pretty good. This one is the one that I kind of was hoping to replace at some point because it doesn't look that great, but some of that is just winter bronzing when it gets cold out. I'm not sure what happened to this boxwood, but it looks like there's some branches that have been snapped off somehow. Something must have stepped on it. You just never know. The garden full of mums Still provides a little bit of interest, I think, and so I'm just keeping them up right now. And I can see much better now that the grasses have turned that kind of parchment color or tan. They actually stand out a bit more this time of year. Our festuca over here, which is, I think this one's called True Blue Fescue, has gotten quite a bit bigger. It's really showy right now. I'm not sure if that's fully evergreen or not. We'll see. I think it stays pretty evergreen until the spring when it just really dies. But the boxwoods and the juniper in here are doing great. This is the skyrocket juniper, and it's really providing a nice backdrop in this area. The colors in the front garden here have changed quite a bit. Now that it's December, we see less green and more of the browns and the different tones of tan. And it still has its own beautiful look. Like I said, I will try to leave these Bobo hydrangeas spent blooms up here because I think they provide a really nice interest. But I do keep my eye on them throughout the winter to see how they're doing. Some of the geranium mycorrhizum is starting to take on some red tones now. I did come through and clean the hostas out of this garden bed, but I haven't got to the ferns yet. It's been slow going. It's been a busy, busy fall for us here. So I do want to come through and kind of cut some of the mums out of in front of these boxwoods so I can see them from indoors, because I like looking out and seeing that from my front window, which is over here. My picture window really does a nice job of allowing us a good view of the garden throughout the winter. And up here now we have mostly our evergreen structure showing. We have our topiary in the pot, which is boxwood. We have our azaleas. And lamium, it stays green for a really long time. So that lamium ground cover in the back there will probably stay green most of the winter. And then we have our sky pencil hollies. These are typically hardy to zone 6. And I was a 5B up until recently, where they readjusted, but that probably is why they've survived, because of the fact that we've had enough of the warmer winters for them, and they're in a protected space. But they grow really, really slowly. So if you're looking for a fast growing evergreen, those are not it. You want to buy them larger if you want a tall plant. And this garden bed still has a lot of greenery in it, so I love that, because again, that's right in front of the window that we can look out in and see some greenery even during the winter months. The fothergillas have all lost their leaves now, and this is another sky pencil holly planted at the same time as the others. So they just take a really long time to grow. I've had them probably for about 5 years, I think, but I really like what they could be, so I can't wait to see how they do over the next 5 years. Along this garden bed, I plan to continue to try to create more of the Virginia along the edge here, because I think that would be really pretty. But there's not as much going on this side other than the grasses that we have, and then some of the spent blooms that are on the limelight hydrangeas that we planted this year. Well, I hope you enjoyed this brief walkabout through the garden in December so you can see what it looks like and what's interesting still at this time. We'll take you around again in, I don't know, a few weeks or so, maybe when we get one of our first snows. We did have one, like I said, but it melted rather quickly, so I didn't have a chance to get out and show you what the garden looked like with that. It does look beautiful, so when I have a chance, I'll take you out to do that. But we also may do some indoor things as well. I have some plants that have been sorely neglected indoors over the summer months, so we need to get those things kind of tidied up and looking good again. Thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you next time. Bye!